Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
What if your boss was an algorithm that couldn't see red lights? And for China's food delivery riders, that is the daily reality until now. In the city of Suzhou, traffic signal data is finally talking to delivery apps, and the countdown freezes when riders wait for traffic lights. Can this one city experiment rewrite the rules of the gig economy? And then we thought buffets were dead, killed by the pandemic, changing tastes, or a generation that swore off shared serving spoons. And now they're coming back, but not exactly as we remember them. Gone are the sprawling spreads with 100 dishes. The buffet reinvented itself, and how long they can survive this time. Coming to you live from our studios in Beijing, this is Roundtable. I'm Fei Fei for today's program. I'm joined by Steve Hatherley and Xingyu. First on today's show. For millions of food delivery riders, every second counts. A red light, a traffic jam, or a very crowded intersection could mean the difference between making a delivery on time or facing a penalty. But in East China's Suzhou city, a new pilot program is trying to change the rules of the game by stopping the delivery countdown when riders are waiting at traffic lights. The move aims to make algorithms better reflect real-world conditions and reduce the pressure that pushes riders to take very dangerous shortcuts. So can this smarter algorithm create a fairer working environment for platform workers? Hello, Xingyu and Steve, for joining the discussion. For years, the delivery riders on most of the platforms are facing this kind of a very difficult choice. You mean whether you follow the traffic rules, but could be risking being late, or you break the rules and save time and deliver your food, your orders on time. So how have the delivery platforms created such a platform where they sort of have this conflicting relationship between fast and safe?
Yeah, I think the riders in China, they have been facing this kind of dilemma for a long time. And the rules for these delivery riders who are late have changed significantly. But in the past, I mean, a late delivery could have a direct impact on their income, meaning that if you're late, you're fined for being late. And that could influence how much you earn. So that's the direct reason why the riders would choose to risk their lives to get their speedy deliveries done.
Yeah, you can kind of blame the platform. You can blame the riders for maybe breaking some rules, but they're kind of incentivized to do that because the system is designed in such a way. So the consequence, I guess the immediate one, like you said, Xingyu, is financial, right? They could be penalized and a part of their pay could disappear. So as far as I know, there was no unified standard for the fine in the past for being late. I mean, it was different depending on the platform and also how long the delivery was delayed. But this is generally what it worked out to be. So if it was 0 to 7 minutes, a 10% to 40% delivery fee may be deducted. If it was 7 to 15 minutes late, 40% of the delivery fee, or what the rider might make, could be deducted. And if it was a serious issue, like 50% of the delivery fee, or maybe even a fixed amount, like 15 yuan per time, that could be deducted. It depended on the platform, but the point there is that if they were late, they were going to be penalized for it.
And it's a bigger factor because most of the delivery riders, when they're working in these kind of jobs, payment, their salaries are the most important thing on their minds. But there are still changes along the way. I mean, I think it's around 2024 or 2025, we do have like a new standard trying to change the game. But I'm wondering whether this kind of the new standard has really changed how food delivery riders view their, when being late.
Yeah, I think you're talking about December, specifically December 4th in 2025. And that was a new national standard for food delivery platforms that kicked in on that particular day. And basically it said that platforms shouldn't be docking riders' pay just because a delivery was running late. Now, that was back in December of last year. Now, how much of a difference has that standard made? Well, some platforms took action or even started a trial before the standard took effect, as a matter of fact. That was in the news, I believe, that it was talked about there. Meituan actually went ahead and completely dropped those late delivery fines, for example. They did that nationwide by the end of the year. Other delivery platforms, they've been testing out the no penalty approach in a bunch of different cities across the country.
So instead of directly fining them, deducting their payment, they have launched another approach, which is service points, meaning that for each rider, maybe this month you have like at the very beginning, you start with the general points of 70 points. Then if you are sending the deliveries on time, you will gain points, or you have received praises from the customers, you will gain points, and that will become the rewards or bonuses in the future. But if you are late, then you will be losing points instead of just losing money out of it.
So instead of taking monies out of their pocket right away after being late, but it's still a determining factor for the riders.
Affecting factor.
Yeah, that
Yes.
is. I mean, for a customer's point of view, when I order food on one of these platforms, they will promise your food will be delivered, for example, within 30 minutes. And when I didn't receive that order within the 30 minutes they promised, of course I will be not very happy. Sometimes it will be reflected in my ratings, and on the other, which could also be a determining factor when it comes to the bonuses and other things that these food delivery riders they got.
Yeah, I mean, it's switching out one punishment for another, because if you lose points, that's obviously not going to be good for you as well. That can affect your overall rating. It can affect your access to higher paying orders, which delivery riders like to have. It could affect their bonuses in the future, and even the priority of receiving new orders. So when new orders come in, those orders might be dished out first, no pun intended, to the riders with the better ratings.
Now, here is a little question, a side note, really. So will the riders be rewarded if they deliver those orders earlier than promised? Like they promised a 30 minutes delivery, but they delivered the order within 15 minutes. Will they be rewarded?
No, there will be no reward from the platform. But as far as I have observed, as customers, you can give the rewards to the delivery man or the riders if you think their service is very good or it exceeds your expectation.
Yeah. It depends on the delivery itself, though. If it's an instant order, meaning you have that option on your app where you can press a button and it's, what do they call it, 1-to-1? Or something like that?
Something like sort of designated order just for you.
Yeah, so the rider goes and picks it up and brings it directly to your house, as opposed to picking up a bunch of different meals and delivering all within that neighborhood. So if it's one of those instant orders, usually there's no reward if a rider sends the food early. But if it's a pre-order, like if I've never done this before.
Oh, I have.
Have you?
I just placed the order before the show for my lunch. to have it
Smart.
delivered after the show.
That's a good idea. And some people will do it the day before.
Yes, true.
For breakfast, right?
Yeah.
So if someone pre-orders like the day before and they ask it to be delivered at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever, the rider might be punished if the order arrives too early.
They will be punished for being too early.
Yeah, because
that makes sense.
It kind of makes sense because if you specify, please bring it at this time, and they show up a half an hour early, you might be in the shower or getting ready or something like
So
that.
being on time is the key
For a pre-order.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be in the middle of a show if they decide to deliver my food half an hour earlier.
Exactly.
So when it comes to, being on time for these food delivery riders, is mostly punishments coming out from this part of their job. There's no rewards in any ways for being excellent at your time management. I mean, so there must be some relationship between, for example, the number of your orders, for instance, you delivered with your payment, so that we need to go into details about how exactly do delivery riders work.
Well, in the platform economy, delivery time is often treated as a key measure of performance. So that means that riders' income and customer ratings and even further orders, like I mentioned before, can be affected by whether they complete deliveries on time. So yes, in a sense, I mean, I guess you're asking if they're given out like monthly bonuses or something like that, but what they are rewarded with is, yes, if a customer leaves the nice review. And by the way, now that I have this information, I'm going to start doing that more often.
I actually have been doing this for the past several weeks.
But you didn't
Yes.
do it before. I think a lot of
Yes.
people just kind of forget about it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just take it for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah, just leave your 5-star rating or 4-star or whatever
Definitely.
after.
Yeah, so that type of thing can affect their overall review, I guess, and also, just doing their job well, performing their job well also helps them out, obviously.
And I think we need to give our audiences, for example, a few key datas to get a bigger picture of, how many hours do these delivery riders work, how many orders, for instance, do they normally deliver for during their, let's say, shift. And also when it comes to, how much money they can make on average after delivering how many numbers of orders.
Yeah, we have general statistics show that full-time riders, they work 8 to 12 hours a day with an average daily order volume of 30 to 60. And for those part-time riders, they can work for 4 to 6 hours and their volume can be 10 to 20 orders per day. And in some bustling commercial districts or office buildings or universities that are densely populated, then skilled riders can handle 40 to 80 orders per day or even higher. And for those suburban or residential areas that is scattered, then the volume may drop to 20 to 40 orders a day.
Yeah,
but still, it's very
a lot.
high amount of orders.
they're busy. They don't stop, right? I mean, I've never seen a delivery rider just.
I have seen him taking naps.
Oh, have you really? I was just about to say, I've never seen them hanging out. But maybe that's a point we'll come back to a little bit later because there's a break time that's going to be enforced. But yeah, they work really hard. They're constantly busy. They're constantly on the move. Meituan, their second quarter data from 2025 showed the average delivery volume was about 29.5 orders per day. That's the average for about all active riders. It can go up way up. Like Xingyu just said, it can go up to 100. So they can be super, super busy throughout the day, which means their brains are constantly moving. Their bodies are constantly moving. They're always on the go, and they're always trying to deliver as many orders as they can.
And that leads to many, many problems. I mean, that's the reason we're seeing for them every second count. When you have 50 orders to deliver for a day, most of the time within 8 to 12 hours, of course, you feel like being pushed on some level that when waiting somewhere for example, for a traffic jam, for a traffic light, it just feels like a waste of time. And that's why when we talk about this new pilot policy in the city of Suzhou, many, I think, people are calling it a breakthrough in platform management. And so what are the reasons for people to call that breakthroughs? Can this breakthrough really solve that, time anxiety for these food delivery riders?
I'm not sure it will exactly solve the problem, but it will definitely ease the pressure for these riders. Suzhou has become the country's first to launch this new regulation. It's about to be on trial from August this year and in 2 districts. So that means the biggest change is that the clock is no longer running against these riders. Whenever they are facing red lights, they are allowed to wait for these red lights, and the time riders spend waiting at red lights will not be included into the delivery time.
Yeah. So the way it works now is that from the moment, I guess, a rider takes the order until the food is delivered, they're kind of on the clock.
Yeah, you can see that on the app.
Yeah, and it's there for the customer to see too.
Yeah.
So that puts the rider under a certain amount of pressure to get the order there on time. With the current system, when they have to stop at a stoplight, that amount of time is not taken into consideration. The clock keeps ticking. So imagine if you're a delivery rider and your delivery is 8 stoplights ahead and you get unlucky.
You
right?
stopped at every one
Red
of them.
light.
Wow.
Red light,
Okay.
red light, red light. Now, you're looking at the clock, you're seeing it count down. And for us as the customers who have ordered the food, we're not really paying it that close attention.
Yeah.
What's the difference if it's 1 minute late, if it's 2 minutes late, or 3 minutes late?
Yeah.
We don't care. They do. They very, very much do. So it creates a lot of anxiety in the riders to get it there on time. They're stuck at these lights. The clock is ticking away. And this is what incentivizes them to run a red light or to ride across a crosswalk where they're not supposed to, or things like that. This new rule change in Suzhou eliminates that.
But how to make that happen? It would be, who is there making that counting?
Yeah, so this is what they did in the city. They are connecting traffic management data with the delivery platform's operating system. So it's under strict data security measures, of course, but traffic signal information and road conditions and traffic warning data can be shared with the delivery platforms. So when the system detects that a rider is waiting at an intersection, then the time no longer ticks down. It presses pause on the delivery clock, and that means that the rider doesn't have to stress about getting caught at those 8 stoplights that I was talking about before.
So that means if a rider arrives at a red light, for instance, and has to wait for 60 seconds, those 60 seconds will be added back to the estimated delivery time on the app so that the riders will not be considered late by the platforms, even though the customers may or may not care at all about this kind of 60 seconds late.
Yeah, no big deal for us, but for them, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Then there is another question. Are traffic lights really that of a big deal when it comes to affecting the average time for delivery on these food orders?
Yeah, I think so. Because according to the one of the writers called Zhang Fuyou, he says the average delivery time for a single order on the platform of Meituan is 28 minutes. But for these trips with many interactions, waiting for these red lights can take up to 4 to 5 minutes for them.
It's like 1/5. So 20% of the delivery time can be spent waiting at stoplights.
So they don't have that anxiety.
So that's
anymore.
why, in Beijing too, I have seen many riders, they are waiting at the intersections for the green light. But before it's about to turn green, but it's not yet, but they are still rushing out.
And people do that all the time anyway. Non-delivery people do that. They know.
Counting on the, making a countdown for the ride.
They know exactly when it's about to turn green. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on the city, right? Or where the deliveries are taking place. That's why there's no unified data on how much time riders spend at stoplights. We gave one example there from the Meituan rider, but that's going to be different depending on where you are. That same rider, by the way, was talking about it further and shared that, when you talk about the old penalty rules for late deliveries, a lot of riders felt forced to do whatever they could to just save a few seconds. Sometimes I'll see this too. Sometimes I'll see riders on the sidewalks, right, going in the opposite direction.
Against the traffic.
Going against the traffic on the other side of the road,
just to also save a few seconds.
You know what they're doing, right? Yeah. They're not supposed to be there, but at the same time, you understand why they are there, because if they followed the rules, they'd have to go all the way up the street and then do a U-turn somewhere and then come back. They're just doing whatever they can to try to get their delivery there on time.
Yeah, I think maybe that to make this, the reason that a lot of people are calling this a breakthrough is that it sort of changed the logic behind like how platforms work. I mean, in the past, the reason a lot of these food delivery riders feel they are being forced, as what the Zhang Fuyo said, is precisely because that's how the system works. It's not because the number of orders that they have on a daily basis. It's not because how many orders the customers ordered. It's more about how the system works. So now we are seeing maybe a glimpse, some sort of a silver lining to see that algorithm are changing to adapt to real-world conditions?
The way the algorithm was designed before was perfect conditions.
Ideal.
Yeah, perfect weather, perfect road conditions, and taking nothing into account that could go wrong. And now we're going to see some changes here. Previously, I mean, the algorithm, I think you said it in the opening, Fei Fei, your algorithm is basically like your manager, a micromanager.
An invisible one.
Yeah, but yet you still feel the weight of that. So this is the biggest deal for the delivery riders, is that they don't feel, and they're talking about this. They say they don't feel the like they're on edge anymore with the algorithms change.
So that's why I think that the change of these algorithms are meaningful, because they are recognizing that there are factors that human beings cannot control, like the bad weather or the congested traffic or some other issues that are stopping the riders to deliver the food or other items on time. And we are recognizing this, and we are trying to make changes so that not only we want to not to compromise too much about the efficiency, but also we want to safeguard the rider safety. And by safeguarding their safety, we're also saving other people's lives, because these riders, when they're speeding, some other car drivers or passengers, they are being affected.
I want to say this. It feels like we're painting a picture of like it's just chaos and mayhem on the streets of China. Delivery riders are everywhere flying around. That's not the case. It's just that you do see these things that we talked about, and they're just trying to clean that up. And again, the riders weren't to blame before. The problem was the algorithm. But I think there's a question too, is this really going to work?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it not?
I think Xingyu mentioned before she doesn't think that just by including traffic light time into that estimated delivery time will solve the problem, but will ease the problem. But also at the same time, I think Suzhou is also introducing other things. It's not just one clause in this policy saying that we're including traffic light into. They're introducing other things like rest reminder, forced breaks. That one is also kind of a controversial.
Well, this is what I said I was going to mention later after Xingyu mentioned she saw the napping rider. Maybe that napping rider was on a forced break. This is one of the new measures that's considered to be pretty important. They call it a fatigue management system. So in this situation, if the rider has been continuously delivering orders for 4 hours, the platform will send a message to the rider saying, you need to take a break. If the rider is working for 12 consecutive hours, the system will force them to log off and take a break. And the idea is to prevent exhaustion from affecting what we talked about, safety for the rider and for everyone else, and reducing too, maybe some risky behavior that might come on those bikes.
And the reason I said, implementing this kind of forced breaks system or the fatigue management system is controversial is because it happened to a lot of platforms, not only food delivery platforms, but only for the food delivery platforms, there also is a loophole there. For example, these riders, they register on different platforms. If they, for example, Meituan is mandating that you now need to take 20 minutes of break, you cannot pick up more orders on Meituan anymore, they will switch to Taobao. And then to continue working for about 4 hours. And then Taobao will tell him, you need to take a 20-minute break. And then he will switch back to JD delivery and then continue working for 4, even 12 hours in a row.
Yeah.
And that, I think, it's also what the riders' mindset is when they are taking up a job like a food delivery rider, they're looking for money.
Yeah, of course.
Especially when they are the only breadwinner in his home, then he will think that earning money, trying his best to make as many deliveries done as possible is his job. But maybe for, like Fei Fei mentioned, different platforms, maybe we should ban the riders to ride across different platforms.
But I think you still, with bans, you can only limit a few number of activities by these riders. That's why I said maybe sometimes we need more supporting measures, and we need to create basically a supporting environment for this rider to feel that confident that I can take a break and not need to compromise my pay in the end of the month. And so that's why I want to come back to the city of Suzhou on here, is that when they are trying to redesign the algorithm, like we said before, to really adapt to real world conditions, like not acting as that invisible hand trying to control us, our lives and our work rhythms. I think the reason that Suzhou is the first city in China to implement such a pilot program is for a reason. Like, why is it in Suzhou? Why not in Shenzhen or Shanghai or other cities? I bet there is definitely a number of reasons behind.
Yeah. Well, that city in particular, they already have a strong foundation in what they call smart city development and digital governance. So the new policy that they put in place, we talked about the traffic management departments, right? So with this, the delivery platforms can work closely with the traffic management departments. They can share data. And that includes, by the way, road conditions and along with the traffic signals. So it's a city, Suzhou, with a really mature digital infrastructure. So that puts it in a better position to test this out and to see if it can be successful or not. That's one of the big reasons that city was chosen.
Yeah, also the city has a significant food delivery market and a large number of platform workers. So I guess the city planners also, they are taking into consideration what kind of situation these riders are facing, and they care about them.
So that's why we're talking about why we need to build smart cities. Yeah. This is a small story behind the reasons we need to build smart cities. But I do want to check with you guys, you are customers of most of the food delivery platforms. Will you be bothered if one day your platform saying, your order will be delivered longer than you used to, than you expected?
They already do that. It already does that. Like you'll get a message that says, due to a high volume of orders, your delivery may be
delayed.
Or due to bad weather conditions, your delivery may be delayed.
Or sometimes before you place an order, there will be an estimated time for each delivery for this particular shop or another store. So that somehow can give the customers an maybe not a false expectation of how quick the delivery can be.
I think that's the key word here, false expectations. I think that's why we need this kind of easing in to tell us what should you expect it for this kind of orders.
This is from Top News. This is from last year, but I still found this to be kind of a surprising statistic because they asked people, would you be okay to wait an extra 3 minutes or so? It's the same question you just asked us, right?
Yeah.
Would you be okay if your delivery was 3 minutes late? 76% of people said, yeah, it's okay. But that means 24% of people
are not okay.
Said no.
They still mind that for different reasons.
They're bothered by a 3-minute delay. That's almost 25% of people said this is unacceptable. Now, if delivery riders know that, and if customer reviews are important, that is added pressure on top of them. I don't know if this is... I think this is one factor that could improve the conditions for delivery riders, but I'm not entirely sure this is going to make a big difference because all it's doing is saying you don't need to rush as much as you were before because you won't be penalized for being late. But it's not saying
customers don't give you a bad review.
It doesn't mean that it doesn't guarantee a customer review, and it also doesn't say anything about trying to fit in as many orders as you can in one day. It doesn't say anything about switching from one platform to another when you're supposed to be on your designated break time. So it addresses one of a list of issues, and it's a great place to start, but I think they need to do more.
And that's why I think for designing algorithm today, is not only facing that the food delivery riders somewhat controlled by the algorithm. I think customers on some level are also being manipulated by this algorithm because the 30% of people saying 3 minutes late is unacceptable. The reason is the past algorithm have created these expectations that my orders should be there on time. And there is no reason whatsoever to make a few minutes of delay, but that's not the real world case. So that's why we're saying that algorithm need to adapt to real world conditions. And little by little, maybe in the future, will be a more friendlier and human algorithm design.
Are you in the 76% that says it's okay, or are you in the 24% that said, bring me my food now?
I mean more than 70% of people, because most of the time I was like, I ordered food, I forgot about it.
It's because you order it's because she orders like 4 times a day. She doesn't even know what's coming next.
I'm the highest VIP member on most of the food delivery platforms. You can imagine the money I spend on these platforms.